Welcome to Trash Talk with Trista, a podcast from Ramsey, Washington Recycling and Energy. I'm the Executive Director, Trista Martinson. Today we're talking policy, the grossest bill ever introduced, and the importance of investing in sustainable infrastructure with Representative Wayne Johnson, a key legislative partner for Ramsey, Washington Recycling and Energy. Representative Wayne Johnson is a former Washington County Commissioner who served on the Ramsey, Washington Recycling and Energy Board. He is in his first term as a House of Representatives for District 41A, and he's an advocate for waste reduction and worker safety at the Capitol. Welcome, Representative Johnson.
Thank you. Honored to be here today, and it's always nice to go down. My legacy will be the dirtiest bill, I guess. So it's always good to have a legacy there.
Yes. But in this case, let's talk about this bill and why you took it up as such a champion for Ramsey, Washington Recycling and Energy.
Well, as you mentioned, I was Washington County Commissioner, and we served together on the board along with the Finance Board, and we did a lot of great work going and finding new ways that we could be more efficient and address the state mandate, diversion and stuff like that. But when you came to me and was brought to me, it's like, this isn't right as far as worker safety and just what you're having to deal with. And those who did see some of the stuff I brought forward and some of the billboards, and people were very thankful that I can't bring displays or pictures onto the floor at the House floor. And so I just, we needed to do something because this wasn't right. And I knew the ideas that you brought forward were great. And as you brought forward before, it's like there was law already.
Right.
And we just needed to start making sure that the laws were being enforced.
Yeah. So just for context for our listeners, Ramsey, Washington Recycling and Energy started receiving, and has for several years, loads of waste that have contaminants of blood and body parts. And it's pretty gross, isn't it? You've seen all the pictures. You've seen on the floor. We're not making it up. It's real. And it's obvious what it is, right?
Oh, it's very obvious. And, some of the things that I brought up too, it's worker safety, but not to mention, I've been there a number of times and many people have toured it, is you can't shut down.
That's right.
Otherwise you have people backing up and trucks backing up. And if this is shutting down your facility, that's affecting a lot of people.
It is.
Not only financially, safe-wise, but production-wise for our haulers and stuff like that. So it was something that I felt was pretty easy to do.
Right.
But once you get down to the legislature, you find nothing's easy to do. Everything is a little bit of a struggle.
It was a lot of turns. Let's talk about all those turns. So we started with a bill that increased the penalties because it's already a law. It's already illegal to put infectious waste in the general trash. And we wanted to increase the penalties. We wanted to hold generators accountable to do their own audits and inspection of their own systems, and to have some training for their employees to make sure they're put it in the right place. But where did we go from there?
Well, as I found, and you've been down there many times during your time as commissioner, what you start with doesn't necessarily end up with what you end with.
Right.
And one of the things you have to learn when you go down there as a representative or a senator is that you have to be flexible. Mm-hmm. I learned that, and thanks for a lot of help that I received. And we started off just like, okay, obviously the penalties aren't enough.
Right.
Let's put these penalties in place. Well, then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, we can't do this. We can't do this. And so it came from, how do you get people still willing to deal with this? You started bringing in different lobbyists. You started bringing in different stakeholders. The hospitals were speaking up. They were getting to their representatives. And it was like, you're going to shut us down, and this is going to be terrible. And we're just like, no, all you're doing is doing what you're supposed to have been doing.
Right.
So we started off with that bill that had the fines, significant fines. I think it was like $200,000. And then all of a sudden it whittled down to less of a fine. And then all of a sudden it was like, it got even less. And then we ended up with the result of what we wanted. We wanted to keep it alive.
Yes.
First year person down there, I was like, no, I want everything. If I don't get what I want, we're just gonna shut it down. And talking with you and Melissa, and it's like, no, we just need to keep this alive so we can get it to where we want it. And so we ended up now with a study and working with PCA and working with the hospitals and figuring out and making sure at the last minute All of a sudden, there was more amendment needing, so we didn't penalize the haulers, which are just innocent, people taking it from point A to point B.
Right.
And so we got that fixed, and then all of a sudden we were able to get that done. And as a last-minute wild card, what do you put it in? Where do you put? Oh, we're going to put it in the cash bonding bill at the last minute. And it's like, really? Well, whatever it takes to get this through. And that's where we ended up getting it at the last day, at the last moment.
That's right.
Down at the session.
It's a good thing you already don't have any hair because you would have pulled it all out. I think it was definitely all the turns. You actually had it heard as a standalone bill on the House floor and had almost unanimous support, right?
Oh, exactly. And I was so excited. It's like, I'm going to get my because it's rare. Right. This year was a little bit different because we put a thing through we said we're only going to have standalone bills. Well, that kind of went to the wayside at the end. But so I was excited because normally you don't get standalone bills a lot of times to the floor and being signed. And so I was like, standalone bill, it's great. Everybody's behind it. It makes sense. And all of a sudden it became, well, we couldn't get it there on the Senate because the Senate wanted to do omnibus as they've been doing. And so it's like, well, we can't do that because we won't accept it. And then all of a sudden there was a fiscal part of it to it. And one of the things that can kill a bill that you hate is that, it's death by fiscal note.
That's right.
And I'm learning so much. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we're not gonna get it the way we want it, not gonna come out the way we want it over there. Everybody, Senator Pappas got involved, many people, Representative Heinzman was involved. We had a lot of people trying to get this done because everybody saw the worthiness of the bill. And at the last minute, it's like, well, we're gonna get this through, but we can only get it through on the cash bond. And I was like, how does that work?
Right.
But we got it through. I mean, just so many people were so helpful. And one of the things I learned down at the Capitol is you have to have friends. You have to have political allies that will help you get it through, whether it's leadership, people that are nonpartisan staff that are doing the researching and everything, that you can't do anything by yourself.
That's right.
You just absolutely can't. And luckily, through my connections over the years and working with you and your connections and everybody else that wanted to get this done, people were to say, we're not going to let this die.
Yeah.
No matter what we have to do, we're not going to let it die.
That's right. And so it passed now. There will be a study that MPCA will do, not only with Ramsey, Washington, but other facilities to see how big the problem is. And then they have to come back to the legislature next year with a report.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it was January
9th or something like that.
And so one thing I learned during this is we spent a lot of time talking about the R&E Center because you brought it forward. But this is a statewide issue. Absolutely. And I was hearing, Representative Heinzman was hearing from his facility up there, and that this just wasn't a Twin Cities issue. This is everyone. So I think that study will go on. And we were talking about, the workers on the floor, but I found out in talking to another representative that he was reached out to by a janitor that was working at one of the hospitals. Oh, and he had gotten pricked by a needle that was in the garbage. Oh, no. That he was concerned about. And it's like, so it's not only where it ends up at your facility, but when they're cleaning up and they're just cleaning up in the normal garbage, that it's also possibly there. So the study will be great in finding out why this is happening, where it's happening. As you have found out, the medical buildings are becoming a bigger issue. Where they put 10 of these in one building.
Exactly.
And I've learned so much thanks to your guys' help, is that why is this happening? How do we get a handle on it? Because we don't want to take any money from the hospitals.
No, absolutely.
They are, we just saw HCMC. We know they're struggling too. So let's just get together, working in partnership so that we solve the issue. Everybody goes to work. Everybody goes home safe. And we deal with it. And that's what hopefully this study will do.
Excellent. So you'll be our champion next year when we get the results of this study, I suppose. We got to see it all the way through, right?
Oh, absolutely. I looking forward to the study. I'm looking forward to being there next year to see this because I do want to see it to the final product. No one ever likes to leave when it's half done.
Right, exactly. So Now, you worked really hard for us on infectious waste. We have a win, and we have more work to be done in the future, but you also helped us on a few other things. So let's talk RDA, the Renewable Development Account. And again, it's a learning experience for all of us. And this account is, as you know, we've been working on building our anaerobic digester, and that's a project we started together when we were commissioners, and now we're on this other side of seeing it through. But we need a little more funding in order to keep the tip fees down and the fees to residents down. So we've been asking for money from the Renewable Development Account at the Capitol. First of all, can you tell listeners what that account is?
Well, it's basically an account that funds go into from the different haulers, and you can probably even get into it a little bit deeper than that. But it's a fund that is there that's for you to use. And the frustrating thing is that it went down right at the very end. I think I told Melissa, I said, it's not dead. It's not dead. Last minute negotiations, and unfortunately it didn't happen. And that's an example of good projects, good purpose being killed by politics.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think hurts the most when you're down there, when you see this is so needed, that money's there, it's for this purpose, and all of a sudden it gets caught up in negotiations. Right. Caught up. And that's, $10 million that was meant to go for the anaerobic digester that we basically traveled over the world to see.
Right, exactly.
And to bring this back and to address that, again, mandate of diversion from landfills. And this was going to be a great idea. Everything's in place, and all of a sudden you look at this, it's like the money's there. All we have to do is have a bill to access it, and all of a sudden politics happen and you don't get it.
Right.
I mean, it's hard for me to explain why it happened, because I just totally don't, other than the fact that the P word, politics is why that happened.
Yeah.
Because it's there. It wasn't raising more taxes.
That's
it wasn't going for more fees. It was just money that's sitting there.
That's right.
That nobody's being able to access while the different parties fight over where it should go.
Yeah. So the Renewable Development Account is funded by ratepayers, Excel ratepayers. There's a tiny little, a few pennies every month on your bill at Excel that goes into that account. And it is for the exploration of alternative energies. And that was set up after the Prairie Island nuclear facility. It was to be able to explore other opportunities for clean energy, which is exactly what the anaerobic digester would do. But that money, now it's still sitting in that account. It'll continue to grow, and hopefully next year we can access it.
Well, you find out when you go down to the legislature, you have to have a level of optimism in you, because it's always going to be, otherwise you can get very depressed and you don't do anything, and you just have, nope, next year is going to be the year. Next year is going to be the year. So, and I found out from you, working and doing things with you, is optimism is always the best way to go.
That's right. That's right. Otherwise, it just stresses us out, right? Exactly. There's nothing but opportunity. We just keep trying and keep going, because we know we're doing the right thing, right? The end result is for the people and for our constituents and for our community and environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and Ramsey and Washington County and their taxpayers made the leap and saying, we need to do this diversion. So you stepped up, you made huge investments, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we just feel that the Capitol down at the state should be that partner along those lines and step up and make that money available. That I just don't feel that you shouldn't just be standing up on by a podium and make a statement without putting skin in the game.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what I feel that's happening down at the Capitol too much.
Yeah.
It's this, why do you have to put it on the backs of homeowners and businesses and taxpayers in those two counties alone to carry this forward?
Right.
And you guys are coming up with great ideas. I mean, been following what you've been doing, and the ideas you've been coming up with and what you've done since you've taken over is amazing. But, sometimes you're limited to how much money you can access.
We're always limited by the amount of money. Yes.
It's not like you're a full-on private business and go out there and raise funds other ways, but just step up.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of legislation, I mean, because you've been a county commissioner and you knew the impacts of state policy, especially unfunded policy on counties. But then now you're on the other side. You see how those policies are being created, made, negotiated, or what paths they're taking. What do you see on the horizon that we should be paying close attention to, or that you're paying close attention to?
Well, one thing you always having to have somebody down there representing you. And that's why people come to me and say, how do we get something heard? How do we get heard down there? I said, you have to participate. You have to find a way to be down there and constantly, because what I found out is there's ways that things get done and ways to get money that I've never heard of before. All of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like, well, the counties have this money. Let's take this money away. We found that out last year. We found it continuously. It's like, oh, well, I know this money is going to this program, but we're going to cut that back. So I think the best way to do it is, because even as a legislator down there, and people have been there for decades,
right,
are finding new ways that things are getting done, whether they're on the floor, whether it's back in committee, or where you can find funds. And for somebody to say, watch out for this, this, and this, that's great, but you're probably going to forget about what's over here that you've never even thought about or even heard of. So the best way I'd say for people to do is just constantly read what comes out. I mean, we have different, you can watch committees, you can see the different emails, you can see it stuff. It's just being informed and having somebody down there advocating for you, because the worst thing you want to happen is you get surprised, because it's easier to stop something than it is to try to reverse it, because then you're talking many other issues, trying to get a bill to reverse it. Well, where's that money going to come from? If you just stop it, and that's what we did the first year I was down there, I think, was just stop things from happening. And being a county commissioner, which is rare down there, saying, do you realize what this is going to do? And I think with me being down there and being a constant voice and people knowing that they're going to hear from me, if they try to do that to our counties and our taxpayers, it's gone a long way. So again, just to summarize, be down there and reach out to your legislators.
That's right.
As many times as you can if you see something that's you like or don't like.
Well, we so appreciate that you're down there on our behalf, looking out for us and paying attention, because you understand the work that we do for our employees, for our workers, for their safety, but also for the community and the investment. Because we're working hard to divert from landfills, as you know, and to meet the standards of organics recycling and recovery of materials. So we really appreciate you so very much, and that your work is just spectacular. What's on your agenda next year? What are you working on?
Well, I think next year we have 20-30% of the legislature turning over. It's a huge
now you'll
amount
be
of
a
people.
seasoned member in your second term.
Yes, and we just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
The majority is going to go the other direction. Are we going to maintain split? We're going to have a new governor.
That's right.
There's going to be, what is that governor's priorities? So going down there, and what I've felt and what I've done from day one is I want to hear from people saying, this is what we need. I didn't go down there to say, I have this big plan and I'm going to do everything the way I individually believe. I've told people over and over again, just like you did, as the R&E did, come and tell me what your issues are.
Yeah.
And let's just see what we can do to put together, because that's what I am. I'm the representative of the people of the district that I serve, but not only them, but beyond that, because R&E is not technically in my district, but it serves the people in my district. Right. So bring ideas, bring concerns to me, and then we'll see what we can do and talking to different people. I think that's more fun than just be thinking, well, these are the issues I'm going to bring forward.
Yeah.
That way it seems like it's more vetted and more needed that way.
Yeah.
That's the way I operate, and I think it's gone over pretty well. And it'll just be, a tie was very interesting this year.
I bet it was.
Let's try something more interesting next year.
Yeah, so some of the bills that have come forward around, sticking to the trash subject, there's been a lot about e-waste and batteries and disposable vapes, right? Because this is a huge problem in the waste itself. Lithium batteries cause fires destroy facilities, and then it's really expensive for all of us. And so getting a way to kind of either hold producers responsible, make them recyclable, not get them in the trash, those kind of policies. Where do you see any of that going? It became a hotly debated topic this year, but where do you see that going?
I'm hoping next year we will get more progress on it. As you know, the first year putting something in, I mean, we did get something done on the study, but many bills don't get past the first year. It's almost like introduction, get a feeling, get the network going and stuff like that. I believe there's going to be more discussion on it. I think where it really gets down to is getting it in early.
Yeah.
Some of these things came, at least I became aware later, getting the discussion going right away so you know what do you need to fix. Look at our bill. How many times do we have to fix it? How many times was it dead? It was alive. So you need to make sure you get as many people interested in it, get as many stakeholders invested in it. And so I think we're going to have a better shot next year because it's valid. I mean, I've seen the fires.
Yes.
I've seen the issues with the batteries and the vapes and the stuff like that it's going to need to be addressed. We just need that education part of it. Yeah. And as we found out with the bill that I carried with the infectious waste, a lot of it was education. Nobody had an idea. Nobody had a clue, even though it was on the news how many times.
Right.
That's a small portion compared to you bring out to the outstate people and you start realizing it's happening where you are too.
Right.
Once they start hearing that, and it's like, well, we can get behind that, and then also addressing the concerns. We don't want to hurt businesses, but they also have to be a partner.
That's right.
And if you're going to be doing a certain kind of waste that's going to cause harm down the road or extra costs, you need to be a part of that at the beginning and realize that's something you got to do. So I'm going to be optimistic.
Yay. All right. You heard it here. Optimistic. Representative Wayne Johnson, who has been a great friend to us and really continues to serve the community so well, both Ramsey and Washington County. And you live in Cottage Grove. You're a member. Your garbage comes to my facility, so you know exactly where it comes and what we're doing with it. Any parting words or thoughts you want listeners who are listening to the podcast to hear?
Well, I just thank you for having this podcast. I think the education's part of it. Thank you for being such a great partner and great leader.
Yeah.
I know if there's ever ideas or things that we need to be vetted, I can reach out, and stuff like that. And I know you're going to push the envelope. I just think we're going to see a lot of great things going forward as we start addressing this, because we still have to come up with some big ideas of how we're going to overall deal with all this.
That's right.
I don't think the ideas that have come up so far are going to be enough. And that's
right.
going to be that constant. So thank you for having me here. This bill, again, gave me a lot of experience going forward and the challenges that can happen with a bill going forward. So I'm looking forward to helping you guys.
Well, congratulations on the grossest bill ever to pass. It is something it'll go down in our history.
I haven't got my award yet, but
we'll have to make one from recycled materials. It could be really gross. Well, thank you for listening to Trash Talk with Trista. Every conversation helps us better understand how we can reduce waste, recover resources, and build a more sustainable future together. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone. We'll see you next time with Trash Talk with Trista.